Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are watching at home. It's a good late evening here in the eastern side of North America as we load in to one of the most anticipated matches of the tournament so far. In the winner's bracket in semifinals, it's Australia versus the United States, Seed 2 versus Seed 3. We've talked a lot about these teams through the tournament so far. A big narrative and a big thing that has remained true is a large gap between the top three in this tournament and everyone else. Well, this is it. This is the first matchup between two of those top three contenders. I'm Dio, and joining me on what is sure to be a fantastic match is Mr. Chillier Pear OWC organizer himself. Good evening.
Good evening, Dio. It is good to be here. We had a very exciting show match just before this, and I'm amped up for some exceptional gameplay here. There is a ton of controversy that comes around every year with the OS World Cup when the United States is mentioned. The team who has put forth the longest streak of first place finishes of any country in the history of the tournament, and an Australian roster that looks to put that to rest. We are putting all borders aside here tonight. Australia and the United States, the red, white, and blue on both sides, and we are all here for some damn good OSU tonight.
Yeah, I am ready to see what these teams come out with, because this is sure to be a fantastic match. On one side, you have Australia, a team that is pretty much universally recognized as the single best speed and tapping mechanics team in the tournament. Now, obviously, you don't get seed number 2 without having every other base covered through the qualifiers pool difficulty at the very least. The question in a lot of people's minds, though, is how well do those other skill sets scale? We know that they have Grand Finals level DT ability, Grand Finals level tapping and mechanics ability. How well can they scale on a lot of the other skill sets in the pool? The United States, on the other hand, the scaling for them is basically never a question. This is a team that usually actually looks a little shakier in the early stages, historically at least, and then ramps up as the tournament goes on to have one of the best scaling rosters in the tournament. So I think the big question here, and to be answered in this match, is how well can Australia pull off points on a lot of the other skill sets in this pool? Because with the United States banning out the Hard Rock 3, the Nomad 2, two of those big stamina-heavy stream maps are now gone from the pool. You do still have the entire DT pool left, but a lot of that is not quite as tapping focused as either the Nomad 2 or the Hard Rock 3, so good bans to start out from the United States, and similarly good bans from Australia, right? The Hidden 2, the Free Mod 2. United States, nowadays, a more of a well-rounded roster, less so specialized into either the gimmick or the tapping mechanics, whereas in previous years, especially, you know, the early stages of 2020, 2021, to some extent 2022 as well, they were a very, very strong gimmick team, very, very strong reading team. So definitely still a lot of that in the United States roster, but less of that kind of specialization for them this year.
And that's exactly what we're looking at right now. This is a trend we've seen for a couple of years now, where the United States goes up against these higher seeded teams into these later stages, and they really like to use that to their advantage. And we're at the point in the tournament, and with their streak, that teams have picked up on this fact, and there's a reason Australia has gone in for the Hidden 2 and the Free Mod 2. They know the United States is good at precision, they know they have the reading, they know they have that control as a skill set, and like you said, the United States, they are a good mechanics team. They have plenty of players that are able to fill those skill sets, but when you are going up against Australia, you do not pick stamina, you don't pick streams, you don't pick the flow aim. This is what they're good at, this is their bread and butter. You are never touching this, if at all possible, against them. And we're already seeing this trend continue into the first pick of the match. We've got lovely Ice Cream Princess Sweetie to start off the Daramak map. It's ulti, it's control favored, it has overlaps, perfect stacks, everything that the United States could possibly want for their gimmick roster exists in this map, all in this little package by Daramak here.
Yeah, it's a good first pick for the United States. It's one of the most, if not the most, gimmicky map left in the map pool here with these bans. You do have stuff like the Nomad 3, of course, still left up. You do have stuff like the Hidden 3 still left up. But in terms of just raw reading difficulty, something like this that almost requires memorization and practice over a long period of time is way higher up on the leaderboard for that sort of gimmicky skill set than a lot of these other picks in the pool, especially than the custom maps, right? The customs are made to be practiced within a week and then learned. But this map is something that's been around in the tournament scene for a very, very long time. A lot of the expectation around pooling a map like this is that players have already seen it, that they are already somewhat practiced on the map. So for most players going in on this, it should be a matter of just refreshing that muscle memory, refreshing your knowledge of the map, rather than having to learn it from scratch. And so for any players who did have to learn it from scratch, for example, this will be a very, very big challenge. On the side of the United States, obviously, you're going to have a lot of the more reading-focused players, more gimmick-focused players coming in. Players like Taquito, players like Oshiman, players like Tommy, for example, I think expected on this. And maybe somebody like Rectigon or Decaton, potentially Pez, to round things out. Currently is sitting in one of Australia's spots. And for Australia, players like Powler, players like JGLF are going to be heavy hitters on this sort of map. This is the kind of stuff that they are here for, right? You may also see somebody like Sayo or maybe more like Zintex or a Secret Box, I would say, come in as the last one. It is going to be a Secret Box. And of course, Emrek, who's just expected to play every map for Australia. Not really a surprise.
There's going to be those core roster players that you see across the board, and then there's going to be the flex slots, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more flexing happening between these two rosters today, right? You know, some of these higher level, higher seeded teams don't necessarily need to use their full depth in their early stage matches, but we're in the semifinals now, and we have a second versus third seeded matchup, and that means that both of these teams are bringing out absolutely everything that they have. And going into map one right now, a strong start is exactly what the United States is looking for. Again, they're still a powerhouse team, and they're still the most successful roster, or at least country rather, in the history of the OS World Cup. But Australia looking to put an end to that this year. Again, a lower seeded team, the United States. So for them to win would technically be an upset, and the United States is looking to change that, with Australia sending them to losers bracket in a similar fashion to the US getting sent down last year by Canada just the round before.
Yeah, the problem here is, of course, Australia is not the same team that has sent the United States to the losers bracket in the last 2 years. In 2022, it was South Korea. In 2023, it was Canada. Australia has not won against the USA ever. They have played each other 3 times. Once last year, of course, in losers bracket finals, that was 7-1 for the USA. Once in 2019 in quarterfinals, that was 6-1 for the USA. And then once in 2015 in group stages, that was 4-1 for the USA. So not a lot of history to build off here for Australia, but a lot of potential in the last year and a half or so with this roster doing very well. Starting things off in this map, though, a couple of early breaks coming through for Paler and Emrek on the side of Australia. Only Boshi to miss for the US, but not a huge gap at the moment. A lot of this is coming from accuracy, but there goes JGLF as well now for Australia. And now you start to worry a little bit. It is 3 full combos still intact for the US, a quarter of the way into this map. And this is not a map that ever really gets easier. These patterns just continue to get more and more difficult. So if you see players struggling in the first quarter, those players are not likely to have a better time later on.
I agree. It's not a chain missable map, but it is a possible to misread a pattern. You lose focus for a second, nerves take over, anything like that. And we're already seeing more misses coming out of Australia. Emrek finding another break here. And it was good for the United States that both of the early breaks came out of Boshi, because you want to keep them consolidated to one player as much as possible. Australia is building up some supporting combos, and as I get halfway through that first word, Paler finds a miss and also loses it on the perfect stack overlap there, one of the hardest patterns in the entire map. And the Secret Box attempts to hold things down for Australia, but 300,000 score almost in climbing. Utami and Rectigon to both find breaks, though, and that immediately puts Australia a little bit closer.
Yeah, but the problem is, look at the combos for Australia. It's just Secret Box, man. It's only Nate holding for the Aussies, and there he goes as well. Not going to be able to find the matching combo here for Pez. the United States rookie, has never played in the OS World Cup before. USA, they traded out, I believe it was 4 of their players this year. Might have just been the 3, and I think Pez is the only rookie on this roster, but a very deserved spot for Pez this year. Not just off of this map, but off of the tournament performance he has had this year. Has looked incredible in I don't know how many tournaments throughout 2024 and a lot of late 2023 as well. So this is just a cherry on top, right? He's putting up the carry performance here for the United States, still putting up the full combo. 600k for Pez right now, about 200,000 up on the next highest score in the lobby from a secret box, and well, that's quite a lot of the score lead for the United States right now.
Unbelievable score lead from the rookie, and again, the performance continuing to stay strong for Pez. Most notable from this year's second place finish in North America tournament, falling only to Zudinator, who is widely regarded as the best player in North America as of recent, aside from maybe someone like Rectagon in overall. But this is just an absolute show we're getting from Pez right now. Wide angles, perfect stacks, overlaps, aim control. If you need it, Pez has it right now. And Australia not able to find any break in the defense from the United States on their opening pick here. And like we expect, like we want to see, the United States opening up strong, 2.4 million team score on top of an exceptional start from Pez. A singular slider end dropped, it seems, with that 50, it looks like.
Yeah, that is a fantastic score from Pez, and just helps out even more for that first pick from the United States. It's a strong opening, as you said. That's exactly what you want to see. And on a map like this, you know, maybe there might be some people watching who would say, oh, well, you know, everybody else was, you know, only 450k or so for the United States, but this is a really hard map. You don't actually need all that many good scores on this for it to be a solid pick for your team. 1 or even 2 people who are really comfortable on this and can put up 600k or an FC is enough. It's pretty much always enough at this stage of the tournament. And so for the United States, it's a solid opening pick. Some of these other maps, right, a little more mechanics focused, a little more straightforward. Those kinds of maps, you're going to want to see 2 FCs, maybe at least 1 FC and a choke. But on something like that, single FC is almost always enough to get the point. And United States showing why there. That's a very difficult pick. Shout out as well to a Secret Box 630k on that with 1 miss. That was a very, very good score, and could have been a little closer if Secret Box had FC'd, but still wouldn't have been enough. And now into Australia's first pick, going to be the double time 2. Again, not surprising. Australia, the widely regarded as the single best DT and tapping mechanics team in the OS World Cup this year. And while this DT2 is a little tech focused, it is speed tech. AR 10.2, 240 BPM, lots of consecutive burst chains in this map. Is the speed as draining as some of the picks from, you know, Hard Rock 3, for example? No, it's not quite as draining, but it's still a big factor in the map. And that is something that Australia is going to lean on, is that comfort at these higher BPM ranges.
And that's what this map is all about. Not only that comfort at the higher BPM for them, but throwing off the United States a little bit. This map is very finger control focused, despite it being a little bit more speed and stamina oriented. This map is actually often regarded to be one of the easier DTs in this map pool as well, just because of the flow patterns. The density is a little bit higher. It's not quite as aim requiring, especially as something like DT1 in there, or even quite as much finger control as DT4 requires. We won't even get into that until we see it, but this map has given a lot of really good DT players some trouble because it is slightly more unconventional, even though people regard it as being more simplistic in terms of style. So we're really looking for those strong DT rosters, but also those players that are going to be able to make those switches with the finger control, the triples, the quints, the doubles going through, and we'll see a lot of that right from the start here. And we've got these strong rosters in for DT. We've seen these for both of these teams this tournament thus far. Zintex, Emrek, Box, and AKN ZX going up against Utami, Pez, Window Life, and Rectagon. Some variation in both of these, but for the most part, the cores sticking around. And Australia looking for that first point with a scary DT roster here. It's about the consistency.
Let's see if they have that consistency. The United States in previous rounds, in quarterfinals, for example, on some of these speedier picks, was able to, just barely take the head-to-head matchup on stuff like DT4, for example, from last week, on the Free Mod 2, for example, from last week, but those are very, very small score differences. So it's about the consistency. It's about whether Australia can find these high scores on this DT map, because if they don't have that consistency, United States is going to be able to punish. And both teams clearly ready for the map out of the gate here, both holding onto this four-way full combo to start things off. Nothing really tripping up any of these players at the intro, just a little bit of act difference here, creating a very minuscule score lead for either team at the moment.
Quarter of the way in, and this is the type of match where you're really not looking for, like in other matches, your strong DT players to put up the combos. You're looking for everyone in the lobby to put up a good combo on this one, and like you said, that accuracy does make a difference early on when there is the 8-way held up, but there's plenty of patterns left around the halfway mark where we could see some breaks. We're not quite at some of the trip-up patterns yet, but everyone's made it confidently through that first section. Australia, understandably, we talk them up as being the better DT mechanics team, and their accuracy is reflecting that for the time being, but the United States is catching up. Pez holding them back just a little bit at that 97% accuracy, but the 3-way 98 from Australia is huge, and it's a double break from the United States to trade out only one from Secret Box, and Australia just got a pretty sizable break there.
Yeah, Secret Box broke a little bit earlier, but both Utami and Pez going down for the USA is huge on this map. Now it's an uncontested full combo for Australia. Zintex, Emrek, and Ikanziax all still holding the FCs. Into these sliders, we have seen people break on these, so make sure you're holding your nerves. Make sure you're ready for those sliders as they come out. Nobody finding the break, but AKNZX finding the break right afterwards. And now it's still just the two-way full combo 2-2 for these teams. Zintex and Emrek versus Window Life and Rectigon, and only a 140k score lead for Australia is shrinking in favor of the US, but is there time here at the end of the map? It's just a little bit left here, not even a sliver of map left, and still 120k. It should be enough for Australia to take their first pick, and it will go their way. Pez will find another drop here at the end of the map, and that is going to secure that 140k lead back the way of Australia. Two full combos for either team, but the overall better score line and the overall better max combos in favor of Australia. Just the one slider break there for AKNZX on 890k, the big difference maker for Australia.
3S ranks for both teams, just a slider break from Utami there, and this is what we were talking about at the start of the map, right, Dio? This is what you expect from these high-level teams. You're not looking for your good DT specialists to put up scores. You're looking for everyone, and with almost 4 million score coming up big for both teams here, you can tell exactly what we are expecting for the remainder of the mechanics pool and the DT pool that is still up here for grabs today. It goes back to the United States, and we may look again towards more of the gimmick, maybe going into the Hard Rock Precision, Double Time 4, very control-focused, Free Mod 3 as well. There's a lot of good options for the United States' skill sets here as well. The hidden pool, we haven't gotten a chance to see Taquito come into the lobby yet, one of the more impressive hidden players in this lobby. So there is so many avenues at the start of this match when only 1 point stands for both of these teams.
Yeah, and let's talk about those avenues for the USA a little more, because Australia, they do still have some very good scores on these more gimmicky picks, especially Hard Rock, and even on some of these more rhythm-focused hidden maps. Australia can contest and even beat out scores from the United States. On tech, on alt, they do still have contestable scores. So I think a lot of this is going to depend on kind of the comfort levels for the United States and their players. And I think picking into the strengths of those individual players at the semifinals level matters a lot more on these gimmicky picks. Something like this Hard Rock 2 really encapsulates that. You have two of the best Hard Rock Precision players in the world on the side of the United States in both Boshiman and Rectigon. To boot, you have other very, very good Hard Rock players on this team. Just to name, I mean, a lot of the roster, honestly. Decaton, Window Life, Kama, all of these people are really, really good at Hard Rock. Utami can fill in from time to time. Pez on certain Hard Rock maps can be very solid. I don't think he plays this one. He might actually be in. He is sitting in the lobby right now. But there's a lot of players on the United States who are very, very solid on this. And while, yes, Australia is generally a very good Hard Rock team, are they as strong on CS7 alt Hard Rock, where your precision strength starts to matter quite a lot? I think USA is going to be pretty well favored on this pick.
The precision on this is an interesting aspect, because if you're a Hard Rock player, you're really looking at precision as controlling your cursor movement, right? That's what precision really is. It's being able to reel in that aim aspect of things. And not only do you have players in the United States that get an advantage in this area, like Decaton with mouse, where that control aspect does become a little bit more, I guess it becomes more controllable is the way to put it, where you have the grab from the surface to hold it down unless you drag with that tablet pen. But likewise, this is a very slider-oriented map, right? So the precision is not necessarily taking the form of that aim control on specific patterns. There are some of them, but a lot of it is from those sliders. They're fast, they're long, they're small. And this is the point of difficulty that comes out from Saika here, right? That's what we're looking for, and that's why you've got players like Pez in for this sort of map, I think, that are usually in for more of those awkward-styled Hard Rocks rather than the raw precision mechanic style ones that we're seeing in here. And again, that's why I called this pick out very early for the United States as an opening Hard Rock here, because not only are they a good precision team, and not only does this fall under where they should be looking, but the way that this map is presented falls so close to that gimmick level skill set rather than the mechanics like usual precision. And I think Australia is going to have a tough time getting a hold on this Hard Rock too.
Let's see how strong their grip is. Let's see how well they can take hold of this map for both sides, because even if you are a team favored, precision is just one of those skill sets that even if you are the stronger team going into it, sometimes you can just flop, you can just fumble, and it's so easy to do that with these smaller circles. So you have to be really, really comfortable on the map and the skill set overall to be able to consistently take points on precision maps. We do have an early break from the side of Australia on AKNZX, but shouldn't impact too much. It's less than 100 combo into the map. That break from the secret box going to start to do a little bit more. We are now a quarter of the way in already. This is quite the short map, only 2 minutes long, so every little bit of combo here counts. And right now it's the four-way for the United States, still going strong, but there goes Rectagon. Big miss on that circle stream, but it's only the one FC down so far for the US, and still another break to come through for AKNZX on the side of Australia. Now halfway through, it's the 2 FCs on Australia to 3 on the USA, but there goes Zintex, and it's looking all the better for the Americans on this pick.
I think that's going to be dangerous for Australia. Decaton finding a break is going to give them an avenue in, but Emrek drops that last full combo, and that's Utami and Pez left standing. And the good news for the United States is those 2 combos that have broken have the highest 2 accuracies for the United States. And in the lobby, Decaton 99.4% and 98.9% for Rectagon. And they are just only the assistants to Utami and Pez right now, putting up these full combos. And this is what we were talking about, why Pez is in for this kind of a Hard Rock precision map, this awkward slider Amy style. Both players hitting these wide angle streams. One more accelerating, and both of them make it through it. Utami misses the last one. Pez finds a slider break. We get no FCs, but not before a double 900,000 score from them, and a 3.2 million finish for the United States, putting up a very large score gap.
Yeah, that is a very, very convincing win from the US. If it wasn't clear why they were picking into Gimmick before this, you know, if you had doubts that they would be able to take even a higher approach rate Gimmick maps like this one on the AR-10 or with the smaller circles, doubt no more, because they've definitely shown what they are capable of on stuff like this, and that is an instant double time 3 pick for Australia. They don't even have to think about it here. 300 BPM AR-8 DT. This is just 300 BPM bursts with quite a lot of very dense aim in between, right? It is 300 BPM and AR 9.7. That is not something you see every day. So density on this does start to be a major factor, but it is Australia. They are the best speed team in the tournament, and you can't really doubt this team coming into this pick. There's a lot of players on this roster who are going to be very comfortable on this sort of thing. And 300 BPM in 4v4 team tournaments isn't something that's tested all that often. You do tend to get it a bit more in higher star rating 1v1 open rank tournaments. We have seen over the last couple of years a lot of map pools leaning into A, much higher approach rate, B, much higher BPM DT pools as of recent, but not something where you have 8 players trying to play it all at the same time, and especially not in semifinals. So it's a very different story here, and I think it very much favors the teams who have the room to breathe on this BPM. Comfort at this super high BPM is paramount for you to be able to read what is going on, control your cursor, aim things correctly, keep your finger control together on the jumps, which you're probably going to have to alt for most players. Most people cannot single tap 300 BPM. So if you have the comfort on the burst and you have the room to breathe, the room to think about everything else going on, it's such a boon on this map.
This map is something I'm not even questioning for Australia. The 2 middle DTs here in DTs 2 and 3 are the ones that I am not even going to bat an eyelash. Australia is going to be comfortable on this. Like you said, most players are not going to be able to single tap 300 BPM jumps. I would say no player in this lobby is probably able to single tap it and still put up the score that they're going to need to on this map. So I'd say everyone's probably going to be alternating this, which does in the end probably favor a team like Australia, where a lot of these players are used to this sort of skill set, this high-level DT, this high BPM. And then, you know, once these DTs are gone, maybe we look elsewhere for Australia. Maybe we look back to the flow aim, some of the other mechanics picks in here. You know, I think DT1 is contested between these two teams. It's an aim map. It's a consistency-based map. But the United States has one more DT to get through before we even get to that point. And Australia is going to make it very difficult for them again. It wasn't a super big score gap on the previous DT we saw between these two. It was only about 130,000 score, and Australia is going to look to increase that gap on this map. It's very easy to find a break on one of these streams after switching from an alt pattern. If you find yourself on an off key, or if you miss aim one of them, there's that chain miss potential on this. The accuracy going to be something to look out for, apparently. Emrek falling to 95 early. We're looking for a good start for Australia right now. Any break from either team could flip this over, but we're not even a quarter of the way in yet. A decent length.
Yeah, it is still 3 minutes after double time, so one of the longer picks in the pool, and it feels much longer on DT as well. But there's the first break. It does come from Rectigon on the side of the United States, and that is awesome for Australia. But there goes Emrek. Does find a slider break on the Buzz slider at the end of that first KI time as well. So 3-3 in the full combos tied up here, and yeah, this accuracy is a tough thing for both teams here. You have 97s, 96s for Australia, 98, 97s for the United States. Only 198 on their side, though, and was a little lower for the US at the end of that first KI time as well. So still going to be tough going through the rest of this map. Again, longer 300 BPM note chains are just not something you see all that often, and so being able to tap them accurately is really tough for a lot of players. We're still 3-3 in the full combos, though, going into the second KI time. Breaks here are huge. We are halfway through the map. You do not want to break in this KI time and cut your score basically in half. It's another slider break for Emrek, but it's a match miss from Window Life, and that is huge for Australia. United States, they are now down that extra full combo. It's just Utami and Pez against Zintex, AKNZX, and a Secret Box, all holding the FCs for Australia.
All players hitting that snap into this slow section here. We've got a big bump up in difficulty coming in this section right here. The longer streams, big alt jumps back and forth. All players make it through besides Pez. 70 combo on them. It's 1 FC to 3 right now, and the United States barely has an FC of supporting combo for Utami. The accuracies are barely there for any player in this lobby right now. AKNZX, the highest at 97.5 in its window life to find another break, and I think that might just spell demise for the United States on this double time pick, as Australia continues to prove to us why they are one of the best, if not the best, double time team in this tournament. The three-way FC, the only break to have come out from the #1 player in the world, Emrek, right now, who is still out comboing two players of the United States at that 500K right now, and his teammates are going to bring him straight into the finish. Look at this from Australia.
And this is what makes Australia so scary on these DT picks, is it's not just Emrek. Hell, they don't even need him. They could have 3v4'd this pick with just Zintex, AKNZX, and a secret box. They don't even need the #1 player in the world to go in for this map. It could have been any member of their roster to fill in that 4th slot, and they still would have taken it. That is the level this team is at. That is how ridiculously strong this roster is, this whole team is on the DT mechanics. That is why they are feared as the best speed mechanics team in the tournament. And it's that consistency from everybody else that we were looking for at the start of this match as well. Safe to say they've found it. They are here to play. As you said, spelled out demise for the United States. Well, that's 2 rounds in the spelling bee done, Chillier. So we'll see how long Australia can keep up their streak of correct answers as the United States prepares their own here, going into their next pick. And it is going to be Nomad 3. They're going to go into another higher circle size pick, Valdis, the Nomad 3. This is an original song, by the way. This is commissioned by Nagiha for the OS World Cup, mapped by Yaspo. This is some CS6 swing precision in the Nomad pool. It's not quite an alt map. It's not quite what you usually expect to see in the Nomad 3 slot. If you're used to watching tournaments from a couple of years ago, you might expect a lot of aim control. This map certainly has that. Maybe some finger control. This map certainly has that in spades. But you might not expect it to be all mapped in 1/3 for most of the doubles and most of the patterns in this map overall to feel like 207 BPM rather than 138 BPM. And that timing change between 138 and 207 is pretty tough for a lot of players.
This map is everything the United States is looking for in a Nomad 3. I'm actually going to venture to say that the United States fares better on an unconventional style of Nomad 3. I actually think that the more to the status quo of Nomad 3 this map was, the more contested it could be between these two teams because of the strength of the alternating players on both sides and how they make it through these skill sets. The fact that this map by Yaspo here is, like you said, small circles, it's awkward, it's got wide angles, it's got sliders, it's got aim control, it's got snappy patterns, and it's everything that embodies the word uncomfortable for 2 minutes and 24 seconds with awkward rhythms, might I add. This is not a simplistic song, so you're really not just able to flow your way through this map. And that is everything that gives the United States the advantage on this. It's everything that Australia generally struggles with against a lot of other teams, and it's why this match continues to go back and forth, because there is such a high concentration of DT maps for Australia and these gimmick maps for the United States. Both sides have these strong points, and we're really just looking if either side finds that extra break, that one slip-up.
Well, we'll see where those slip-ups come from. I have a feeling they're going to be bountiful in this map because this is not an easy pick. Again, these more complex, challenging maps tend to be overall more difficult for players, regardless of the round they are pooled. We do have Pez, Rectagon, Utami, Kaiten in for the United States. O/Slash making his first appearance for Australia. Zintex, Emrek, and a secret box in for them as well. And this is, again, I think a very solid roster for the United States. We saw a lot of these players and what they're capable of on the Hard Rock 2 already. while this is a different sort of map, it is similar enough in style to draw some comparisons. Unfortunately, the start of the map not going the best for the United States, as Rectagon and Decaton both finding a chain miss on the switch to 1-4. By the way, the new comboed patterns in this map are going to be all 1-4 patterns, so all at that 138 BPM rather than that 207 that we talked about earlier. And for now, it's just the 2 full combos to 3 in favor of Australia at the moment, but should not amount to too big of a lead for the Aussies so far. It is still early days. We're only a third of the way into the map, but still quite a lot of patterns to go.
That rhythm that we talked about, this unconventional type of patterning that comes with this song that gives a lot of players trouble. And even the United States, with their strengths, finding, again, that little bit of difficulty here. Again, we pointed this out, I think, as one of the most difficult maps in this pool. This is such an underrepresented skill set, both in the pool of players and in map pools in general, that it's very difficult to pick out who's going to be able to play this. And unfortunately, Box and Zintex going to be finding breaks. That does leave the 2 FCs up for Australia here. Unfortunately, they're contesting what is effectively 4 FCs, and with O/Slash down now a third of the way left of the map to go, and it's Emrek still standing with an incredible score, but there's nothing he's going to be able to do by himself against this trio with Pez finding a break even.
It's Emrek versus the world right now, and in some cases you take those odds, but not on this pick and not in the OS World Cup. It's not enough in the semifinals. The whole team for the United States popping off on this one, finding those good scores. It's still the full combo for Utami to match Emrek as well. It's another break to come through from both Rectagon and Decaton, but there's just not the combo on the side of Australia to pull back this massive 500k score lead, and there goes Emrek as well. It's already said and done at this point in the map, and just like on that DT3 for Australia, it's the team-wide effort for the United States that brings it home on this 5th pick in the match and the 3rd pick for the United States. A 600,000 score lead in their favor, and a full combo for Utami to close it off. 600k on all 3 other members, by the way, which is a very, very good overall score line. 600k for most of the other matches that we've seen so far this weekend would have been a very, very high overall score, but it's just the 4th best score on the United States. Nothing special.
Nothing special whatsoever about that. No, don't bother. Just let's.
Nah, it's not that good. I mean, it's only 600k.
That's fine. It's just, average Saturday evening. We'll leave it to elsewhere. And there it is, DT4. Wow, Australia actually going in for one of the maps that I thought would be a little bit contested here. But man, you know what? At this point, I'm not even going to question it. Australia has been so unbelievably good at playing double time this match. They're going to continue their train. They said, we don't care if the United States might be good at this awkward style. And honestly, I think the Australia will still be amazing at this. It's high BPM, it's snappy, it's full of doubles and ult style patterns, and it's really high AR compared to a lot of other picks. We're pushing 10.5 on this one, and that really is the kicker here. We're looking for Australia to push their strong points as much as they can, and the high BPM, the control, and that AR on the DT is going to continue to favor them over and over again, and they're going to run it until it doesn't work, and I haven't seen it come even close to not working yet, Leo.
Yeah, it's been good for Australia so far. That said, in other weekends, it has been a bit of a toss-up. Last weekend, the United States has the head-to-head win over Australia on DT4. Now, it's by 55k, but you take what you can get. 55k is still a win on the map on the day if they're able to pull off a similar scoreline here. In DT1 in qualifiers, which is similar-ish to this map, Australia is number 1 on the map overall, but United States' best score beats Australia's 2nd best score on that map. So there are ways for Australia to take this sort of a pick versus the United States. And so it's still a good pick, right? It is AR 10.5. It is relatively still high BPM, right? Where I think at 220-ish for this map, probably 219 or so. 219.5, I think. If the math checks out, maybe. Somebody check that. No, 214 actually, even lower, 215 BPM. So it's a lot lower than the previous DT picks that we've seen, which were 240 and 300, but it is that higher approach rate. And again, I think a lot of what makes Australia so scary on these picks is the overall comfort with not just the high BPM that comes along with DT, but every aspect of the mod, the higher approach rate in particular, the higher OD in some cases. These are players who are just very, very comfortable at DT and everything that it brings with it. And so for a lot of these players, AR 10.5, not that big of a reading challenge. We've seen a lot of people struggle with the reading on this map. In theory, this should be a very good pick for Australia just because they won't have to devote as much energy and as much brain power to reading the map, so they can focus on actually just playing it.
That's what we're looking for. New faces in for the map on this one. Kama and Kyo both coming in respectively for either side. Kama known usually for high accuracy on these control type DTs, will be finding an early break alongside Decaton. And Australia, while it's not a substantial lead given how long this map is and how early those breaks were, are going to take just a slight lead at the start here. It's going to be maybe 200 combo total, and it's enough to throw them a little bit of score to start right now, and that's exactly what we're looking for. I totally realized I said Kyo instead of Sayo. I'm losing it. I'm losing it tonight, Dio. This match is so hype, I'm mispronouncing names that I've seen 1,000 times.
Welcome back, Kyo, my favorite 5K rank restricted player from Brazil. Welcome back, bro. Welcome back to the OWC. It's going well for Australia. There's not a lot to say at this point. It's a couple of early breaks for the United States. It's a 4-way full combo for Australia. Utami and Rectigon are still matching. There is still that danger factor as well with Decaton on a very big recovery combo, but so far so good for the Australian roster as they continue to just show this consistency on these DT picks that is nigh unmatchable so far in this matchup here. We'll see if they can continue through the rest of this map and through the rest of the DT pool after this. Likely the DT won the next pick for them here. But so far, it's just been looking impeccable for Australia. 2/3 of the way in, a 260,000 score lead for them, and the 4-way full combo still going strong. But again, 2 big combos on the United States, a big recovery combo for Decaton, and Kama now with a pretty solid recovery as well. But there goes Utami, and now it's 1 full combo to 4, and make that 0 combos on the side of the United States, except for Rectigon, both Decaton and Kama finding the break there, and that does it. That'll seal it up. Signed, sealed, and delivered by all 4 members of Australia.
That is almost all the way through the map. We've got the one switch in the song at the ending here, and if they make it through, it's going to be the play of the weekend for Australia. AKNZX misses on absolutely nothing but up to the top there. Look at that first map of the match all the way through, and I'm not going to say it until it's done, but it's Sayo, 99.35% accuracy into the ending, a 1.18 million score, single-digit 100 count, absolutely obliterating every other play in the lobby. Kama, the next closest with 5 more 100s, 250s, and missed at 541 combo. And Australia with the strongest 4-way performance we've seen on a full spectrum of DT maps. This is every skill set under the moon for DT if they pick all 4 of these, and they continue to prove that you should never touch this skill set against them.
What the hell was that? Like, what the hell was that team score, man? 4.4 million on that is not okay. That was a ridiculous team score for Australia. I'm still kind of shocked. The act from Sayo is ridiculous. The team-wide consistency is again ridiculous for Australia. It's just nuts. It's just nuts, man. United States is putting up massive team score differences on their own picks, but the team-wide performance and level of consistency it takes to put up 3 full combos on not just the AR8 300 BPM DT pick, but also the AR 10.5 alt-tech hybrid DT pick is absurd. It is ridiculous. That was nuts from Australia. Just these last 2 picks from Australia have been absolute massacres. The United States, however, still, of course, bring it back. Bring ourselves back here. Force perspective a little bit. It is still 3-3. No matter how many points you win by, it is still a win at the end of the day. Just because you win by 1 million or by 20K, it is still 1 point on the board. We are still tied 3-3. United States still has a lot of gimmick maps to abuse in this pool, and they are going to continue to do so with the Free Mod 3 Kimuri by Niwashi, mapped by Down, 1 minute and 55 seconds. Very, very short, very quick map. At 170 BPM, a lot of awkward control focused flow aim, a lot of finger control in this map as well. It's very similar to some of the more rhythm focused hidden picks that we've had earlier on in the tournament. You go back to the round of 16 hidden one Escape by Sarawakwi. You go back to the quarterfinals hidden one Deorbit by Torumaru. Those are probably the closest comparisons you can make to this sort of a pick in this pool. Very higher BPM, alt, wiggle, aim control, finger control heavy with tons of changing rhythms all over the place.
This is, once again, the epitome of the United States' skill set. And again, like you said, you know, these style of maps we've seen so many times, especially from Down as a mapper. Very close in terms of what we see from them in multiple tournaments. In Niwashi, the rhythm, the control, that's really what you're looking for in here. Those rhythm switches are the huge difference maker for a lot of teams on this sort of thing. And this is just, you know, again, we're going to look for the United States to put up their strengths here, but this does also give Australia a chance to make a bit of a difference. This is free mod now. This means that Australia doesn't have to necessarily run everyone on something they're entirely uncomfortable with. They could run the hidden, the hard rock, the over mod, or just anything that helps their case on this. But the United States and Australia thus far, kind of mutual abuse in this match thus far. Australia has just been throwing double time mechanics and speed at the United States, and the United States has said, you know what, let's pick the exact opposite. And it's going to continue this way, I think, for at least 2 more picks here. I mean, we've got this one more from Australia DT, and then that puts us 1 point away from match point for both teams on that side. We get no overmods, but kind of expected. Rectagon Sayo on the hard rock, Utami Box on the hidden, and the double no mod on either side. That's really what you look for on free mods like this, right, Dio? Is those confident no mod combos. That's really who your anchor players are. Those should be your strongest scorers. Those should be the guaranteed FCs in all possible cases in order to hold your team up if something goes wrong. And we see some breaks from both sides already on these early rhythm switches and back and forth. This is a tough one.
It is so many breaks coming out from everyone in the lobby right now. Zintex is just not having a good time straight up. Chain missing on quite a few patterns. Secret Box early on finding the chain miss. Sayo there finding the miss on the hard rock before this slightly easier section. Decaton, Kama, Rectagon all finding breaks for the United States as well. It's just Utami on the hidden and Emrek on the no mod holding these full combos, but it's 99 AK and the hidden multiplier for Utami, helping to bring this score lead a little bit the way of the United States. Otherwise, the accuracy in the combo still a little in favor of the US, pulling the rest of that score lead together for their team. And with more breaks to come from Sayo and a Secret Box, it's still going the way of the United States. And there goes Emrek as well. It's another couple of breaks from Sayo and Secret Box to follow up, and the United States unassailable at this point in the map. Full combo still intact for Utami. 500 combo on all 3 other members. It's only Zintex to match anything that any of these 4 USA players can do for their team. This map already well and truly over. It's just about style points here, and unfortunately Utami won't quite earn those, but it's still a 600,000 score lead and no chance for Australia to bring this one back to a breakpoint.
The hidden player to be the highest score almost on your team. I think it will maintain even with Rectagon into the ending, who we have somehow missed, putting up over 700,000 score on hard rock on that map into the ending. And the United States does the exact same thing that Australia has been doing to them from the double time. They are going to give them no chances at picking up a break point, and it's going to be be this way, I feel, for quite some time now. Australia with no breathing room for the United States and responding in kind from North America. And here it is, the DT1, the fourth and final map. It's the most simplistic of all of them. It's the most aim-focused. It has bursts, and it is long. This is consistency. This is about how confident you are in your four-player roster. And with what we've seen from Australia thus far, and some other scores we've seen this weekend with the high accuracy from players like Ciccone with 1/100 on this map, I would be hard-pressed to not see something similar from Australia, but distributed across 4 players, therefore making it the craziest score ever, and Australia farming performance points in a tournament match.
It's certainly possible. We saw it on the DT3. We saw it on the DT4. You have to expect near perfection from Australia on these DT picks because that's what they've shown us so far, right? Is near perfection. It doesn't get better than a 4-way, but a 3-way and a 600k or 500k or 700k is pretty goddamn close. It doesn't get much better than that. And I think that's the kind of scoreline you have to have on a map like this that is that most straightforward pick, because the United States players are not going to get tripped up on this super high approach rate. This is AR 10.3. It's been standard high AR since the Boon Ages, since the Stone Ages, right? This has been something that players are very familiar with for a very long time. It's OD 9.1. The accuracy is not all that much of a challenge on this, and it's also not a concern for chain missing and note locking because the bursts and streams in this are mostly stacked except the cut stream section. But what it is it is very consistent, as you said. It is very long, as you said, almost 4 minutes after DT. And again, you favor the team that is most comfortable on double time when put to the test on a consistency pick like this that melds both the aim strain and that burst and stream strain at that 264-ish BPM.
Here we go. The map that Australia will use to get this match to 4-4. And that will leave us with 1 pick left per team. And Australia with the double time pool fully picked and potentially fully won. That would be 4 out of 4 double times and easily the most dominant we've seen a team be on double time overall in a tournament, especially the OS World Cup. And as we get through the intro, we're looking for those accuracies. We're looking for anyone to potentially be uncomfortable with some of these aim patterns because that's the majority of this map here. Sure, the bursts are a component, but the jumps are really what are going to catch players in the middle of this map. The majority of the time and the drain time on this is because of the aim sections with the triples in between. We see a little bit lower accuracy from Emrek off the start, but we do still have 5 double S's across the lobby. And Utami and Zintex matched exactly even right now. This map's going to come down to whoever misses first. And here we go. First Ki, first jump section starts now.
Everybody is still holding strong at the start here. It's the recovery on the accuracy for Emrek. It is the less than 10,000 score lead for the United States to start us off, with everyone just holding, everyone comfortable so far. And again, this is why we talked before this map started about requiring that near perfection for either of these teams, because this being that most straightforward pick, yes, the aim is awkward. It is in an older style. Yes, there are bursts. Yes, there are things that can trip you up. But this is, by all means, the most straightforward pick in the DT pool, and these players are showing why. It is very, very comfortable for all of them, but there goes Taquito. That's the first major break. It's just about halfway through, and now we're into the cut stream section. Another break to come through for Taquito, but that is the only break on either side of this lobby right now. These streams are the biggest speed strain section in the map. Does anybody break here at the end? It is Rectagon who finds the drop, and that is the 4-way full combo still intact for Australia after the biggest speed section in the map, over halfway through, and they're going to start to pull way ahead with this 2 full combo advantage over Utami and Window Life, Emrek, AKNZX, Zintax, the Secret Box, all still holding for their side.
The power is here. It is being displayed to us time and time again. First section over with. The burst cut stream section is gone. It's out of the way. And Australia with over 2,000 combo of lead. Secret Box to find a break. But guess what? It doesn't matter. They still have a full FC of lead over the United States. Their score still continues to go up. Their accuracy is holding strong. And there is absolutely nothing that the North American team can do to get back into this one. Australia holding it down, unwavering. They have every skill set under the moon in DT. They have all of the consistency, and they continue to maintain through the ending jumps here. Will we see the triple hold through? It's 350,000 score, and Australia with all 4 double times likely in.
Yeah, it's gonna be the 4-way DT sweep for Australia. They will not close out the 4-way or the 3-way FC on this map. It is just those 2 at the top, AKNZX and Emrek holding the FCs. AKNZX on some fantastic accuracy as well. Utami and Window Life to close out the double FC for the United States, but the timing of these misses massively favoring Australia. Secret Box and Zintax missing near the end. Zintax missing again at the end, actually, finding another couple of breaks there. And AKNZX not able to hold on at the end either, but it's just not going to matter. It's still a 180k score lead for Australia on that DT1, and we are tied once again, 4-4. Australia taking all 4 DT picks in a row against the United States, and the USA taking 4 gimmicky control reading focus maps in a row against Australia. I don't think the pick strategy for these teams is very hard to understand. United States is going to pick some more gimmick, and Australia is going to pick some more mechanics. The question is, which maps in particular are they going toward here at the end of the match? There's quite a few left up for the United States that fall under that gimmick umbrella. There's the No Mod 4, there's the Hidden 3, the Hidden 1 to some extent, and of course the Free Mod 4. And as for Australia, there's really only 3 that stand out: the No Mod 1, the Hard Rock 1, and the Free Mod 1. Out of those, I feel like the No Mod 1's probably their best option, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. First off, it's the United States' last pick to come through.
This is where the picking strategy changes, Dio, and dare I say it, this is where the match really starts, right? You lose all of those maps that have been picked thus far that were immediate strong points for these two teams, right? The United States has picked all of their very evident strong maps, and Australia has gone through the double time pool exactly what they were looking for. And the United States now branches out into something a little bit more accessible, right? No Mod 4, this tech slot is not as against Australia as a lot of the gimmick maps that we've seen thus far. We are looking for something that's more comfortable and more accessible for the opposing team. Likewise for Australia, and you pointed out with their picks that are potentially upcoming in that No Mod 1, the Hard Rock 1, and the Free Mod 1, is Australia picking into AIM is more accessible to the United States. And that's why I say this is where the match really starts, because the United States now needs to hope that Australia is not as confident as they are on a tech map, which is all more than likely with the depth that Australia displays on this roster. And likewise, when Australia goes into their pick, which we assume will be one of the AIM slots, they have to hope that the United States doesn't have an equivalent response for that slot in order to give them a tough time. And that's where this gets interesting, is how do these teams hold up to that pressure? Do the veterans come in for these maps, those who are experienced in OWC and know this pressure, or do we continue with the same strategy of finding that mix, finding that depth on both sides, and putting in those strong rosters, and not letting these two teams be swayed by what this match is becoming in these final 2 slots?
Let's see exactly how this pans out for the United States first. The last pick for Australia will come through at some point. I think probably most likely it's going to be that No Mod 1, right? You have a bit of a higher skill cap on that map. You have less chances for hard comfort mod players on the United States to shine on that sort of a map than on something like the free mod 1. You have bigger circles, unlike the Hard Rock 1. USA has won both of the small circle picks so far. But for this map, there's not really an equivalent so far in the pool. It's tech streams, it's ridiculous slider shapes, it's very tough finger control, it's spam cut doubles, triples all over the map. There's a couple of maps that have been played between these two teams, the R-Tech, the Hidden 3 in quarterfinals, and the Nomad 4 in qualifiers, but this is on another level in terms of difficulty and complexity, and so drawing comparisons to those, I feel like, doesn't really do justice to how big of a gap this kind of a map can have in terms of difficulty to those other picks we've seen so far. And even looking back at those other two picks, they've been close. So it's really tough to call going into this, but the gimmick maps have favored the US so far. You have to favor them again going into their last pick. A couple of early breaks here to start us off on both sides, really. O/Slash, Sayo, and Utami, the only ones to hold combo. It's Taquito, Rectigon, Decaton, Emrek, and Secret Box all finding breaks for both teams, but that's 3 members of USA and only 2 so far for Australia. Another couple of breaks here on a very short 2-minute map coming through for a Secret Box will start to matter, will start to give the score lead back over to the United States, and there goes Emrek as well. These recovery combos for those 3 early breaks now doing enough work to bring things back onto their side.
Still got some breathing room for Australia. Remember, they've got those 2 FCs still standing, and as long as those are up, the United States has no guarantee of taking this point. They have significant backing combo for their 1 remaining FC, but any slip up on this, a double, and it comes from O/Slash to start us off. And it's Sayo, Box, and Emrek now up. They need to hope for breaks from the United States, and it's Sayo to find the break. And this is falling apart for Australia a little bit more than they wanted to. Halfway through, we kind of figured this would go to the United States. But even with a more contested slot in tech, not pure gimmick, these sliders just proving to be a little bit too much for Australia. And the United States, man, they again are just doing exactly what Australia did on double time, straight back to them.
And what is this team score, by the way? This would be one of the best team scores of the weekend if they manage to close out with these combos. It's not going to happen. Rectigon and Taquito will find these breaks, but those are near FCs, right? Utami's on the FC. Decaton's only 120 combo or so behind. Finally, another couple of breaks to come through here at the end, but it's just not going to matter. It's 500K in favor of the United States. There's not nearly enough score left at the end of this map for Australia to pull things back, even if their combos had held on, which they don't. Another few breaks to come through from Secret Box, Sayo, and O/Slash. Emrek will be the only one to full combo that ending, but it is not nearly enough. The United States, with that score lead built up in the first half of this map, the first 2/3, 3/4 really, will close it out cleanly. 670K on this coming through for Utami, 580K for Decaton, matching the top score from Australia in Emrek, and everyone above that 500K mark for the United States. A fantastic team score for their last pick. And now, Chillier, the ball is entirely in Australia's court. Where do they want to go? What kind of map do they want to pick? How do they get to the tiebreaker?
It needs to be Nomad 1. In my mind, it needs to be. I don't think they can take a chance on the Hard Rock. I think the aim is too awkward. They definitely don't go for either of the hidden picks in here. Free Mod 1 is a potential option if they're feeling a little bit more confident on those mods overall, but I really think it needs to be Nomad 1 for them right now, and there it is. It's the most simplistic map, but at the same time, it's straining. It's single tap focused. If you are not an alt player, you absolutely want to single tap this. It gives you a significant amount of control over the rest of the player pool on this sort of thing. It's got bursts, and there is not a pause to be found in this map. And if Australia has taught us anything in this match, it's that they have the consistency necessary for this map. They have the ability to endure the strain that 220 BPM single tap jumps have on this roster. And the United States, they have match point, but that's all the more reason to be nervous right now. If they don't win this, they go to tiebreaker. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, Australia has been the mechanics favored team in this match. And you know what this tiebreaker is? Mechanics. So if I'm the United States, my nerves are running high right now. And Australia, while they've got that little bit of uncertainty with one more pick behind them, they know that they have been strong on this skill set. They know they have an advantage here. And if they can make it to tiebreaker, it is their best opportunity of sending the United States packing to loser's bracket.
Let's get through this pick first. Let's get through this No Mod 1 pick first. This is, I agree, this is the best pick in the pool left for Australia for all the reasons you mentioned, but I feel like the one thing we haven't talked about with this pick, and the reason why I favor this more than any other pick in the pool left for Australia, is this is a stamina map. This is not just an aim map. You talked about the strain and the no breaks and it being 220 BPM super single tap focused, but all of that combined just makes this really, really draining over the course of the map. You load into this, and if you don't have 220 BPM burst stamina, if you don't have the ability to hold together your forearm, your tapping arm, through these higher BPM jump chains and burst chains and back-to-back patterns over and over and over again, within 30 seconds, 45 seconds, your arm is just burning. And that is part of the skill set that Australia has won every single pick in the pool so far for, and the skill set that United States double banned against them in the Hard Rock 3 and the No Mod 2. And that is a big part, I think, for me, the biggest reason why I like this pick so much more than the Hard Rock 1 or the Free Mod 1 for Australia. Let's get into it. Last pick for Australia, last pick of the match in this winner's bracket semifinals match. MREC, Zintex, Secret Box, Sayo versus Utami, Decaton, and Rectigon.
The final stand, the final map. The United States looking to close it out. Australia looking to bring it to tiebreaker. And like we've said, if they bring it to tiebreaker, this is favored for them. But we have 3 minutes and 21 seconds of jumps to go. MREC, the first to fall. Not a sign that Australia likes to see early here, but there's plenty of map left. There's plenty of sliders. There's plenty of more patterns in Australia. Crumbling right now a little bit more than we want to see. It's only one break for the United States, with a second one here, but Australia starts down at the beginning. We're not quite at halfway, and it doesn't mean that Australia is out, but it's a 1 FC lead, and that falls apart for them now. Utami with the break. It's Decaton Rectigon versus Zintex and Sayo, and the accuracies are looking dangerous for both pairs. Australia with the better backing.
Yeah, it's Decaton and Rectigon versus the 2 FCs for Zintex and Sayo, but MREC and Secret Box are on that better combo. There goes Zintex, though. That's one of the FCs down now for Australia. It's 1 versus 2, Sayo versus Decaton and Rectigon. MREC and Secret Box do have big combo, but it is still overall the combo lead for the United States. They just add up to make that full combo happen. And this is... Chillier, this is slightly longer Bancho lag than normal. I don't want to see it happen here, but it may just be the case. That might be a disconnect for MREC. Secret Box and Zintex are going to find breaks afterwards anyway. Is it the full disconnect for MREC is the question as we continue to go through the rest of the map. We're going to check on where all of these players are, but for now... Everyone has broken, actually. It is breaks across the board. Sayo's broken as well. Rectigon found the break. Decaton found the break. It's just Utami on 700 combo and Secret Box on 400. That's the biggest combos in the lobby right now.
That's it. MREC has gone offline, disconnected from the lobby. It's confirmed, and that means Australia is fighting with 3 versus an 800 combo versus Utami. It's 408,000 in favor of the United States and climbing, and I'm unsure as to what MREC's score was when he disconnected, but unfortunately, I don't think it was pushing above 500,000 score. As the United States goes into the ending, we'll have to check it when the map ends, but it seems that he is fully gone. We cannot abort this match. It is done. It's dusted. And in the most tragic, heartbreaking fashion, Australia will fall to the United States 6-4 in the winner's semifinals by 600k. Emrek disconnecting on the final map.
That is one of the worst ways that it could have happened, but at the same time, it would have required over 600k from Emrek to be able to come back in that map for Australia. At the point of disconnect, I believe his score was around 240k. He had found those early misses. We'll have to see exactly...
He's back in the lobby, but
He is back in the lobby. Confirm for me some rules, Chillier, about this, because do we take a replay and screenshot score for this, or is that the match?
We can ask for a score if he has it, because if his internet just disconnected, there is a chance that we can get the replay score from Emrek still, because his power must... Oh, someone said his power cut out. Oh boy, that might be interesting. If Emrek has a score to present to us from his locals, that is absolutely what we can take, but we need proof. And wait a second, I just received a score from... Wait, what? Wait, Azer's throwing me... What? Wait, hold on. Azer's confusing me in chat really quick. Hold on, blame Azer. What is...
Yeah, and unfortunately, the gap was 844,000 in favor of the United States.
844,000
so Emrek would have... He would have had to make up 844,000 score. At the point of disconnect, he had already broken a couple of times and was on 240k-ish.
Yeah, he could not do that.
So I don't think it would have been possible, unfortunately. So even if we do get a score from him, I believe this outcome is probably still going to hold. And even if he were in for the entirety of the map, even if he did finish out that no mod 1, it would not have been enough. It will still be the win for the United States here. And Chillier, it's kind of a weird way to have it happen, but the United States will still, once again, make it into the top 3 in the OS World Cup. They will still keep their spot in the winner's bracket. They are still one of the top now 2 teams remaining in the OS World Cup. And there was doubt. There was doubt in this match. Australia put up a massive showing on so many picks in this pool, but at the end of the day, the skill set depth from the United States just came out at the end of it. The scaling came out from the United States, and they were able to take that match. They were able to move on to the winners finals for the first time since 2021. We have not seen the United States in winners finals since 2021. They were knocked out in semifinals by South Korea in 2022. And then last year, of course, knocked into losers bracket by Canada in the quarterfinals. So this is the first time we will see the United States back in winners finals since 2021.
We will get to see, for the first time in a very long time, our 2 top finishers from last year's OS World Cup duke it out in the winners bracket finals. And unfortunately, this match not quite ending the way that we wanted it to. We're sorry the scriptwriters didn't get their annual raise this year. They must have left early at the end of the weekend. But the United States, they made it work. They faced an onslaught of all 4 double time maps, which is something most teams would not be able to hold up well against. And well, technically the United States didn't hold up well against it. They lost all 4 of them, but they used that team depth. They used the remaining maps afterwards, and they were able to make the match work. In Australia, we have high hopes for them in the losers bracket. They will face the winner of Russia, Hong Kong, or Chile, which will be a match that takes place tomorrow. But not before we have South Korea versus Germany, the first seed versus the 5th seed, taking place in about 7 hours at 13 UTC. Dio, quick thoughts about that match before we look to close this one?
This should be a good match as well. Korea has been on form all tournament long. Germany putting up a very solid win against Russia last week in the quarterfinals, 6-3, looking strong themselves. So looking forward to seeing that match, looking forward to seeing which team advances into the winners finals. Of course, I think the projected winner for that match is South Korea. They have looked extremely strong from the outset in qualifiers. We talked about it at the start of this match, but one of the big things has been this large gap between the top 3 and everyone else in the tournament so far, and that still holds true with this match against the United States and Australia. We'll see if Germany can shake that narrative up tomorrow at 13 UTC. That'll do it for us here, though, at OS Live. Once again, congratulations to the United States for this win against Australia. Good luck to Australia in the losers bracket. They are down, but not out. They do have another chance to make it back into the top 3 for the second year in a row. We'll see you tomorrow at 13 UTC. And of course, if you want to support either of these teams, the United States on their run through the winners bracket or Australia in their run through the losers bracket, you can purchase some banners on the OS website. If you buy the banner of the correct team, it displays on your profile until next year's OS World Cup, and the funds from these banners do go both directly to the teams and to the overall prize pool, so you're helping support both the teams themselves and the OS World Cup in general. I think that's it. I think that's everything we got.
I think that's everything we've got. Congratulations to the teams that have won this weekend thus far, and thank you to all the teams who were eliminated this weekend for coming out for the tournament this year. You've done a fantastic job, all of you. We are coming into our top 6 very quickly. Finals weekend is almost here, and we've just got a couple more matches until we get there, but that's it for this evening. We'll have 3 more matches for you all tomorrow. South Korea versus Germany, followed by Hong Kong versus Chile, and then Canada versus the United Kingdom. And then I believe we also have
Russia versus the winner of
that match. Not displayed up yet. We'll get that match displayed after. But thank you everyone for watching this evening. I have been Chili Repair, joined by Dio for this very exciting match all the way through. Make sure you grab those banners. In the meantime, we will be back here at 13 UTC for South Korea versus Germany. You do not want to miss that other winners bracket match, and we will see you then. Thanks for watching. Take care.